The British Broadcasting Corporation presents Music from the Olympians, an opera by Arthur Bliss with libretto by J.B. Priestley. The program is introduced by Mr. Priestley.
Before I talk to you about our opera, The Olympians, I want to say how glad I am of this chance of talking to overseas listeners again and of saying hello to the many friends I made through my broadcast talks during the war. How are you all? Keeping fit and cheerful? Good. What about me? Well, I'll confess that I'm feeling rather tired, as I've had a great many different things to do this summer, including a play and a film, and ending up, of course, with this opera. By this time, I'm quite an old hand in the theatre, having helped to produce about 25 plays of mine in London. But in the opera house, I'm a new boy, and it's much harder and more wearing being a new boy than being an old hand. But there's one thing to be said about our Royal Opera House Covent Garden, where I've spent so much time lately, and that is that it happens to be one of the most enchanting playhouses in the world, big and yet curiously intimate, well equipped with the latest devices, and yet with a magnificent old tradition. I've fallen in love with the place. But you want to know about the opera itself. Well, to begin with, it's a big work. Real grand opera on a grand scale, employing a large orchestra, a full chorus, ballet, elaborate scenery, lighting and effects, including a terrific thunderbolt. Bliss and I deliberately made it a big work on this scale because, rightly or wrongly, we felt that it was time we British, who've produced some delightful small operas during the last few years, should try to show the world we could also create a new opera in the grand manner. And here let me add this, that whether we've succeeded or not, and that's not for me to say, we, and by we I don't mean just Bliss and myself, but the whole Covent Garden organization, deserve some credit for taking such a magnificent and gallant effort at a time like this. There's life in the old dog yet. Well then, The Olympians is a grand opera on a large scale. Next, the composer and I have seen it from the first as what we choose to call a romantic comedy. If you'd like to go one further, you could call it a fantastic romantic comedy. We wanted a story that would give us any amount of scope for color, glamour, fun, as well as more than a touch of romance, and, if I may say so, just a hint of a philosophical background. We found what we wanted in the old legend of the gods of Olympus turned into strolling players, together with my own plot of the rich, self-made, proud man, Lavatte, who was blind to certain instincts and values, partly represented by these gods, and paid heavily for his blindness, though coming to no real harm. We'd have liked to have set the scene in England, but we both felt strongly that these gods turned into players would never have crossed the English Channel, and that the story demanded a Latin background. And so I chose southern France as the place and made the time the midsummer of 1836, which just kept these fantastic events far enough away from us. And that's enough about the story, at least from me. But I must say something about the music. Now, I don't pretend to be a musical critic or a scholar, but after all, I've been listening to good music for over 40 years. I've known many great musicians, and have been for some years intimately associated with one of our finest symphony orchestras. Now, I've had to listen to the score of this opera over and over again during innumerable rehearsals. And it happens that I have a quick and rather impatient musical ear that soon tires of what it doesn't like. And I declare emphatically that I am still entranced by the music that Arthur Bliss has created for this opera, that in my view, it's the greatest single achievement of his distinguished career, that unlike much contemporary music, it's packed with color, fun, tenderness, romantic feeling, and moments of great beauty, not only for the individual singers and the chorus, and the choral writing is exceptionally brilliant, but also for the orchestra, for which Bliss has always written with astonishing skill. Above all, this music has a fine sense of character and quite unusual vitality, blood and heart and warmth. And I feel it's a great privilege to be associated with music of this quality, as well as a pleasure to talk to so many of you again in this new capacity as a librettist. May you enjoy what you hear and then ask to listen to it again and again.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Olympians. The morning of Midsummer Day, 1836. We are in the sunny entrance hall of an inn in the south of France. The landlady, Madame Bardeau, bustles about scolding the servants. She is worried and tells the sympathetic village priest that Lavatte, the local landowner, is coming that very morning to see her about her debts. He appears, a self-made man, full of himself and his projects. For tonight, he is giving a great midsummer night party.
And there I stand, Joseph Lavatte, who started with less than 50 acres, and now is worth 6 million francs, and I'll cry to them, Excellency friends, Excellency friends, eat what you like and drink what you like, it's all the best that money can buy. My house is yours until the dawn.
He's moving up,
He's getting on,
he's getting on.
he's moving up. For tonight I announce my Madeleine, and there she stands, beautiful, covered in diamonds.
Just to be tied to a dirty old man.
I'm feeling for that unhappy child. My daughter Madeleine.
I'm feeling for that unhappy child.
Is the bill, Lavatte is the bill. Somebody call Lavatte. Yes, whatever it costs, the expense.
Now's the time to speak to him.
players. What is this? What players?
There is a troop of strolling players at the inn. They can't leave because they can't pay their bill. The priest says, why shouldn't Lavatte employ these players to entertain his guests? And the money they earn would wipe out some of Madame Bardeau's debt to him. The two of them retire to discuss this. And now a handsome young poet, Hector, enters declaiming from his new play, The Persian Princess. Looking up from the script, he notices that Lavatte's pretty daughter, Madeleine, has slipped in. Thrusting the script at her, he tells her to read the woman's part for him. Mystified and hesitant at first, she does so. And soon they are acting with real passion.
Semira, Semira, pity me.
This is the very voice that I have heard, sounding so often since in dreams.
Much better come closer. Ooh, Persian rose of gold, eyes of Arabia midnight, fountain under the moon. Have I not been thy slave? And now I die.
No, leave for me.
One last embrace,
Leave for me.
and then farewell.
Farewell.
Farewell forever, and now I die, Semira, Semira. Come closer still, and take my hand. And all the perfume wine and roses of Shiraz bloom on these lips.
How dare you, sir?
Nonsense. It is in the past. Kisses her. Shall we try it again?
No, certainly not. I don't even know
I am Hector the Florac, a poet. Who are you?
you. Madeleine, Lavatte, I live not far away.
Hello, exquisite. But we must finish the scene now, after the kiss. Now, please, this is important, and you're doing very well. Let me whisper my love in the darkness of your heart.
Let the snow on the desert flats in the sun. Let me
Let me whisper my love in your arms, in your arms, my love in your arms. young man, you're embracing.
Where's your Hector, the Florac, poet?
Yes, I'm a poet, and this is the time, this is the time to be playing the fool of the poet.
He was rehearsing, will you play the part?
Persian fiddlesticks, young man, we do not know you. I beg, to be performed a shot in Paris.
Then it should be a great success.
A great success, great success. What is all this rubbish? What is all this rubbish? What is all this rubbish? Young man, we do not know you. Young man, we do not know you.
Father, you can't be so to a stranger.
Yes, I can. Come along, young man, we do not know you. Come along. Your daughter charming, quite exquisite. Mind your own business. Come along and be quiet. Your daughter charming, quite exquisite. That is it, baby, that is it, baby. Mind your own business.
I'm sorry, very sorry. I've enjoyed the rehearsal and the rehearsal.
Very promising too. That's enough of me to say one move.
Father,
Quite beautiful. Come along, that's enough of a venue to say one more. No matter for that, she is right and I am a fool. Enough, sir. Forbidden to talk, Even in rascal, that's enough. Come along, that's enough. Come along.
The stage is empty. One of the strolling players, Mercury, slips in, a lively but silent figure. He is followed by the other players, gloomy and dispirited, Venus, Mars, and Bacchus. Finally, in a flaming temper, Diana bursts in. Why do we go on living this miserable life, she cries. Why don't we join a circus? A grave, elderly, shabby figure has come in. Jupiter, father of them all. This is folly, he tells them, and in any case their luck is about to turn. Lavatte comes back. He has come to strike a bargain with the players. A hard bargain, but at last they agree. The question is, what play? What day is it? Asks Jupiter.
Well, let me see. What day is this today? What day is this? It is the longest day of summer, specially chosen for this day. Midsummer day. Midsummer day. Midsummer day. You must excuse me, sir, but I am very old and easily forget. Midsummer day. What year is this? Why, every child must know what year it is. Exactly, 1836.
1836. 1836. Midsummer day. Midsummer day. Midsummer day. Midsummer day. And so you are most fortunate, and I congratulate you. According to our ancient rule, we are allowed to play the greatest piece in all our repertoire. The greatest piece in our repertoire. The greatest piece in our repertoire. It is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. The company of Olympus. The company of Olympus. The company is the company. The company is Olympus, 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 the company of Olympus, Olympus. I've never heard of it, but if it be your best, then that is what I want. Be ready to perform it at my house. Maison Lavatte at 10 o'clock tonight. And tell your beautiful Madeleine that I shall be there too. Are you sure? Are you sure? Children, I'm absolutely certain this is the night. And that old fool will soon be certain too.
days later, the same night. The moon is just rising over the great courtyard of Lavatte's mansion. Into the courtyard steals Madeleine, desperately unhappy because Hector has not appeared.
Victor!
As they stand there, in each other's arms, Mercury, wings on his feet, comes flying from the house. The magic has begun. Under his spell, the lovers fall asleep in each other's arms. And suddenly Diana, goddess of the moon and hunting, appears in full glory, followed by a crowd of enchanted women. Madeleine is now awake, and she too follows the goddess away to the hunt. The scene is now bathed in a sinister red light. Mars appears, followed by the excited men of the party. Then Bacchus, the god of the vine, comes in, surrounded by yet more women, tipsy and maddened. And now, most potent of all, for men and women alike, Venus appears, and the whole concourse calls on her, beseeching her to unveil. Madeleine has been bewitched by Diana. It is now Hector's turn, and Madeleine, coming back, finds him saluting Bacchus and Venus. A solemn stillness descends upon the crowd. A golden light appears on the terraces of the great house. Into this light steps Jupiter in full majesty. The gods have returned, he tells them all. They have returned to warn men never to forget them.
And the fiery chariot of the sun, fed to
it is just before dawn, and Diana is lamenting that the divine power is already draining away. Hector and Madeleine are reconciled, but Lavatte, terrified, has sent for the priest to rid his house of this horrible curse. There are two things needed for that, says the priest: Lavatte's gold and the immediate betrothal of the two young lovers. The thought of the gold shocks Lavatte profoundly, but a glimpse of the slumbering Jupiter behind a screen helps him to make up his mind. The priest then works the disenchantment. But how can I be sure all is well? Asks Lavatte. The priest removes the screen, and Jupiter is revealed as the old battered player once more. Lavatte agrees to the wedding. It shall take place at once. Madeleine is overjoyed.
a very important statement. Go, tell the kitchens there'll be mighty, stupendous feast today. Hurry, 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 hurry. You see the kind of man I am when my mind's made up. I organize, I dominate, I dominate, I organize. I, Joseph Lavatte. Sir, as you can see, we're moving off now, but of course, before we say goodbye, there is a little business to attend to.
I've written here a testimonial that you can say a word of thanks for our performance. How better than you ever dreamed.
What impudence! You ruined all my party, you almost wrecked my house. It's impudence gone mad!
It was you, especially asked us to perform last night. Accompany your Olympus. What happened then? We were magnificent. We were superb.
Feeling very strong.
And chanting quite the riot.
In fact, my dear sir, you had the privilege of seeing my company at the very best. I'm sure the province will remember it for years, and we have said so in the letter you will sign.
And though you paid the little bill we owe me, I'm sure you now agree that hardly is enough. We need some money for the road.
And this, of course, we leave to your generosity and sense of gratitude. Give me patience, or the impudence will drive you mad. You monstrous mountebanks, you'll get no money and no thanks from me.
Lavatte is outraged at their impudence, but at a warning look from Jupiter, he capitulates and throws them a few hundred francs. And as the guests sing their wedding song for Hector and Madeleine, the players slowly begin to move off along the wide road of their eternal journey.
You've been listening to a program of music from The Olympians, an opera by Arthur Bliss, with libretto by J.B. Priestley. The cast was as follows: Madame Bardeau, Edith Coates; the priest, Murray Dickie; Joseph Lavatte, Howell Glynne; Hector de Florac, Rudolf Schock; Madeleine, Adele Leigh. The Olympians, Diana, Margherita Grandi; Bacchus, Thorsteinn Hannessonn; Mars, David Franklin; Jupiter, Kenneth Shawn. With the Covent Garden Opera Chorus, Chorus Master Douglas Robinson, and the Covent Garden Orchestra, leader Joseph Shadwick, conducted by Karl Rankl. The music from the Olympians was performed in the Royal Opera House at Covent Garden, and this program, in which the narration was spoken by Robert Harris, was produced in the London studios of the BBC.